When we say critical for improving technology transfer efforts, I would like to invite again Mr. Saddam, please. With your applauses, TTO Director, University of Hampshire Board Member, also Association of the University Technology Managers. Autumn, thank you so much. Amerika Birleşik Devletleri'ndeki teknolojik transfer örgütlenmesiyle ilgili uygulama ve deneyimlerini aktaracak şimdi Sayın Saddam. Thank you.
I can do technology transfer, but I can't put a microphone on properly. So, my slides are in English, and I will continue in English because I don't speak Turkish. But I do speak food, and I know I'm in between you and lunch, so I'm going to go as quickly as I can. If somebody wouldn't mind, just put me on the clock for about 10 minutes and just go like this when it's been 10 minutes, I will make sure I finish on time. So I'm going to cover in hopefully about 15 minutes, maybe a little less, two things. One is to describe Autumn. So I sit on the board of Autumn, on the board of directors. This is the second time that I've been on the board. The first time I was responsible for all of our, not just the international strategy, but our training and professional development. So I spent 2 years with Autumn traveling around the world, thinking about how to deliver the educational needs that technology transfer professionals need. Autumn is unique in terms of associations in that we're the only global association. Every other technology transfer organization is either country-wide or region-wide or in some instances for the continent, roughly. But Autumn is global. We have about 3,200 members. It goes between 3,200 and 3,300 a year. And this is just our international members. So we have members in 65 different countries around the world. Most of the advancement or increase in our international membership is due to training. So we go out and we will provide educational information for technology transfer professionals worldwide. And our mission, or our core purpose, is to support and advance academic technology transfer. Now, it came up in one of the questions before about the software company. Words are really important. So from the US perspective, a little bit Europe, but not completely. When we talk about technology transfer, we really mean early stage research from a non-profit research institution, transferring that to industry for commercialization. So when I say technology transfer, that's what I mean. It's research-based, intellectual property-heavy ideas transferred to somebody else to do the work. So what Denise asked me to do was to talk about what makes an association valuable. Why bother joining an association? That was an impressive list of associations. There were at least 30 of them up across Europe. There are lots of people who are in the technology transfer arena who want to help. But the question becomes, why? Why work with an association? So to me, they serve three major purposes, and I added a fourth while I was sitting there. The first is simply convening, getting together. There is really important, and it's hard to measure and you can't say how valuable this is, but getting together with your peers to share your experiences is really critical. Now, one of the challenges, and this is actually kind of a cultural challenge, is being able to honestly admit what you're doing, which often means admit what you're doing wrong or admit what you don't know that you're doing. So in my earliest experiences with Autumn, all I remember is sitting at lunch with people who were my peers 2 or 3 years going, do you know what you're doing? No. Do you know what you're doing? No. And we all shared our questions and just the willingness to say we weren't sure how to do the job. So a role of your association, USIMP or others, is to just get together and provide an environment where you can have an open sharing of information. The second point, which to me can be a little controversial, depending on where you are, is it allows the free flow of employees. That means your purpose is to allow people to change jobs. It's okay. So that you know who the professionals are. The last presenter just mentioned, where are the talented technology transfer professionals? Well, if they're somewhere else and you can't hire them, they don't do you any good. So you either have to grow them yourself or be able to import them from somewhere else. Associations can serve a great role as recruiting people from around the world. Maybe, again, if I put a note on my piece of paper that says RTTP, which is a very important certification. RTTP only matters if it matters in hiring or it matters in promotion. Otherwise, it's just something you put on your resume. If it doesn't get you a better job or improve your prospects at your current job, it's just something to have. That's why it's there, so that you could say, you post a position and you get 10 RTTPs and you know that you're going to focus on those 10 employees. So again, the role of an association can be to provide what that certification is. In the convening mode, just being out of the office is good. Your bosses may not think it's good, but it's good to get out and refresh your mind. And probably the most important piece, again, culturally, is tech transfer is not a competition. There is no such thing as a better university than another, or we do it better than you. You each do it as well as you can, given your home environment. So I will, again, challenge you. Do we all agree that MIT is a wonderful university? We all wish we could be MIT on some level. Well, UNH did twice as many licenses as MIT last year. Are we better than them? Yes? No. But we found a model. I like to tell them that. It drives them insane. But I'm not in competition with MIT for anything because I can't get their ideas. I don't have access to their faculty, so how can I possibly compete with them? Culturally, that's a challenge to get over, that you're sharing with people that are in your same environment, but who don't do the job that you do because they don't have your ideas. So the more sharing and the more openness you get that your association can do, the better. Teaching and learning. The best way to learn is to teach and realize that you didn't explain it very well. So I started participating in Autumn about 3 years into my career, giving a lecture. Now, I kind of knew what I was doing, but I wasn't sure until I had to put it into a presentation. So in terms of professional development, getting your employees to participate in the training and the education of your association is really important. Your association should have roles for very junior employees so that they can take the stage and try to teach and learn better about how they're going to communicate what they do. That shared environment and that shared cultural and policy environment allows you to create something unique. It doesn't do you any good to I mean, it's interesting to go other places and see how they do tech transfer, but our policy framework isn't the same. Our funding resources aren't the same. Nothing is the same. In Turkey, most everything is the same, and those are the people that you should be understanding how to work better. Most of the time I spend at Autumn conferences is talking to my friends around the country trying to steal their ideas, the good ones. I stole a bad one once, it wasn't very fun. But to say, oh, that worked, well, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that in my shop. I'm gonna give you what I know and see if you can try it. And that's I think that we learn from each other when we do this. The third, for the industry guests in the room, is access. Association brings people together, which means industry should want to come to hear what you have to say for two reasons. One, to take your technology in the nicest possible way with money, but also to learn who you are and to learn how you do what you do. One of the biggest shifts in Autumn was we used to call our industry members affiliates. So even in the words, we didn't treat them the same. There were members and there were affiliate members. You're over there, you're dealing with industry. We're not talking to you, but we'll let you pay money to come to the conferences. We changed that to make everyone a member. And as soon as we did that, industry was much more receptive to to what we had to say, and we were much more willing to listen to them. We didn't mean it. We liked them. We couldn't get we can't report good data if we don't have licenses. But we weren't treating them as equals. And I think that's an important component too. The last piece that I'm going to add that isn't up there is data. Your association should be collecting data, not competition data, but objective data. Again, one of the major values of Autumn is that we've collected data for almost 30 years in tech transfer. So you can learn a lot by studying that database. We also collect salary data, which, again, somewhat controversial, but very useful to have a salary survey. And lastly is to create this national tech transfer culture. I don't know what yours will be. I know that it's not complete yet because it's never really complete. But in the building of how Turkey does what it does, you're going to do that over time. It doesn't have to be done today. I'm glad the minister took over. So I just want to take 2 or 3 minutes. Make sure. What's that? It was 10 minutes? All right. So do I have a couple more, or am I okay? All right. Well, the 10 was so that I had 5 more. I didn't tell her that. Now, I want to give you a feel for how associations change, and that's where I'll stop. So when Autumn was created, it was called the Society for University Patent Administrators. Anyway, all they did was there were about 10 members. They managed patents. Terribly exciting. But what they did was then advocate for the policies that were required to take the next step. It then changed its name to Autumn, which shifted from managing IP to sort of using IP. But, and I always try to make sure that people understand this, tech transfer in the United States, which has had some influence over the world, was created to move life science technologies to pharmaceutical companies. And that thread kind of sits underneath everything. So if you have an engineering or computer science, it doesn't work nearly as well. So that's why I say do your own thing. I joined in 1996. I got great education. I understood what I did. My first Autumn meeting was about the size of this one. It was like 300. You had about 250 at least registered. So that was it. In 1999, we started to see startups. In 2003, we started to talk about licensing getting more complex with sponsored research and corporate engagement. In 2004, I quit, went to work for a startup, which I was maybe one of 4 people that had left a tech transfer organization to work for a startup company. Now it's common in the United States. In fact, it's a path in. 2010, I came back, and the world was different. More specific industry networking, regional meetings. So now we have an Eastern, a Central, a Western. Much more education. In 2012, we started to push advocacy. So we're now engaging our legislators and politicians. In 2014, startups exploded, and it's all we're talking about now. And in 2017, over this past year, we spent the entire year talking about what is technology transfer now. I don't know. I mean, it's very different than when we started. And by the way, we finished 2017. We still don't know what it means. But we know it doesn't mean filing patents. It means more than that. And so what I wanted to bring you through the story was to say that wherever you are, you're in the starting point. It's going to change, and it's going to change every year, and it's going to change for 30 years and 40 years, and that's okay. To kind of change with it and allow it to go wherever it's supposed to go. I'm going to skip the Autumn stuff. There's an annual meeting. We always like money. Lots of webinars. This, again, is something we do really well now, but it took us 35 years to do well. There's a lot of online education. Covered RTTP, so I don't have to worry about it. And this last piece, which, again, I think as the profession starts to mature, this is the important take-home, is what are you doing for society? What are you doing to make a dent in the universe? That's the story that, despite what I'll say US, despite what my boss wants, what the president wants, what the politicians want for money, when you tell them a story about someone who is cured with a vaccine or a new technology that created 10,000 jobs, those stories are always better. When you start to mature as an organization and as a profession and start to be able to tell these stories about how the world is made better by the work that you do, that's when everything starts to go. And that's the role that an association can play. That was 3 more minutes. I got to go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sedum. Thank you. Ve şimdi artık öğle yemeği aramıza geçelim.